Do you know that anger is frozen pain? There is a pattern, and I call those patterns the language of soul.
In this episode of Alt Life, I sit down with Bougnon, energy healer, author, and intuitive channel, who's helped thousands move from emotional wounding to soul alignment.
Can I make you see that you are playing a role of a person that is disempowered?
We explore how forgiveness, not force, is what melts pain, and why deep healing begins when you stop being the victim.
Forgiveness is something so powerful, but it's not done for somebody else. You're actually doing it for you. It's a jewel of another kind that you are acquiring.
If you're holding on to pain, anger, or the stories that keep repeating, this episode might just open the door to a whole new way of healing. I know that there are a lot of light workers like yourself in the world, but it'll be really interesting to hear a first-person perspective on what does that mean, and if you were to describe what you do, what would you say it is that you do?
I think I told you once that when you feel deep in the core of who you are, that you are just a channel, right? An instrument, then it is very difficult to ask the instrument to define anything. For example, you wouldn't ask a piano to define music. You wouldn't ask, a pot to define cooking or to tell you how it came out. So it's like very difficult. But there is things we can say and things that I can express because, after being on this planet for almost 70 years, you learn something looking back. And I look back to my very, 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 very early childhood, and I realize I got such a big hiding when I was 6 or 7, because there was like a big colony of leper people. And my parents always said to me, you're not allowed to go and play around there and go there. And guess what? You tell that to a child, the curiosity gets bigger. And then I thought, I want to see these people that are suffering. And when I look back, I realize it wasn't as much to go against my parents, but it was a deep desire that had come with the little soul that I was then to help. And so that has defined my life. And after that hiding, I got many other hidings because I was all the time in the hut of somebody sick. And I was perpetually attracted to people in suffering.
And you felt that you could offer them something, that you had something to offer them, and that through you could help them in some way.
Yes, I didn't know. When you are a child, you don't know of the people where I grew up being so rural. They would tell me that I had the gift, whatever that translates in the language that we were speaking at that particular time. But you don't understand that. But if somebody comes to you and says, put your little hand here, and then the next day they tell you that they feel better, that is like extraordinary. It goes beyond that. It goes really to the deep core of what is inscribed in the soul arriving on planet Earth. So you've got souls that want to help, souls that want to build, souls that want to dance, souls that want to play music. So we all have this unique talent and this unique desire for our lives, and that in me expressed, and I was totally focused on sick or suffering people. That's where I would go.
Can you describe what do you do in a healing session? What's your process? Is it the same every time? Is it different? Do you have a protocol?
Well, first, I want to hear the patient. That takes the longest time. So sometimes takes an hour, sometimes takes 2 hours just to listen. It's not that I am a bad listener, but I do interrupt them a lot. I do make them conscious because people have got this song playing, I am a victim, he hurt me, that one beat me, whatever. So I have to interrupt them to make them see. And I interrupt them with love, because, people come to me very fragile, especially after trauma of any kind. But I do say to them, can I make you see that you are playing a role as you're telling me that? You're playing a role of a person that is disempowered. I understand you've been hurt. I understand you've been beaten up. I understand you've been whatever, raped. It goes on and on and on. But can you see that DVD or CD or whatever? It goes on and on and on and on. So you have to sometimes make them aware, because we have forgotten the power of words. So from stopping them sometimes, I take them to laughter, because I always say, just imagine if we're playing the role, then I also have to play. Now you make me play this role that, I know it all and I'm going to make it better and I'm going to make it disappear. And that's not how it works, because we are so perfectly and divinely encoded from within that we all understand deep down what is happening to us. And so it's important to connect to that aspect of you that is truly divine and say, what part could I have played in this event in my life? What did I do? What did I say? What did I not do? What did I not say to attract something like this in my life? If I have gone through an episode of violence, what part of me expressed violence somewhere? And if you start doing all this search within, then you realize that deep down, everyone you encounter is going to mirror back to you a part of yourself.
Lou, it's so interesting that you say that. My experience, or at least whatever I've seen in the world so far, has been so different. I see people that are doing horrible things and they get off scot-free. At least it looks like it. People that are war criminals, killing millions of people, and it looks like they have a great life. And then you hear stories of like the social worker lady who is so kind and dedicated her life to social work, and then she gets like held up and killed by the same people that she was trying to help. How do you make sense of that?
I don't think that we can forget that there is a lot of evil in the world. Evil always comes across as victorious, but it's not so. It's a fake victory. We could go into politics. I mean, I could slide straight into the Middle East and tell you what's happening there. It's very evil. What happened in Germany to the Jewish people that are now doing the same thing is also just as evil. So then we have to understand there must be a law somewhere, if we are eternal spirits, where the souls that inflicted something like this now have to experience something like this. And I often wonder, the Middle East, partly victims and Nazis all over again, the same souls playing the same script all over again. When you study Hinduism, the great philosophers of Hinduism and the great masters and the great minds and the great souls and the great saints always talk about this cosmic play where everyone is playing a role. When their life comes to the end, of course, the role is finished. But the life here is not the hand of anything. It's just the hand of the body, because the body is made of elements that belong to the earth. So they will stay on earth, but your spirit goes. And when it's ready, it comes back, takes another costume from those earth elements, makes a new body. Depending on where you've been before and how you evolved, you're going to be placed, or you choose to be placed in this area or that nation or that culture or that color, so that you learn, again, from experience to become better, to not repeat your errors. Or simply, they also believe in sow and reap, more like the Christians do, that you have to pay. If you have a debt to life by mistreating it, you will have to live a life where you are mistreated. So that doesn't take from the pain that we experience. And I personally, by watching what's happening in Gaza, for instance. And I see these people breathing this dust of all those explosives and everything. And I always think, if I was there, I wouldn't last 2 minutes because my weak spot is my lungs. So I feel great pain and I feel great sorrow. And if I lived nearby, I would probably be there and already be gone. But obviously, my soul chose to be somewhere else. But it is important for us to understand that if we are truly eternal souls, then we live forever. And everything that we have inflicted upon someone as pain, we're going to have to experience it ourselves, because how else would we understand what we've done?
I like to think about it in a slightly different way.
Go for it. I want to hear.
So I think that whatever we do, the pain is in the action and the benefit is in the action. So as an example, I like to think at least that the person who is, or the people that are ordering the killing of so many people, they have no peace in their life. And maybe the social worker who was killed by the people that she was trying to help, it doesn't matter actually, because she lived her life very internally, like she had a deep sense of accomplishment or peace or joy. And that's how I like to think about it. I think just from my own experience that when we do something that has a positive effect in the world or on people, we feel good inside. And ultimately, what is the purpose of life? Why are we all after certain things? It's for our own experience, right? So as an example, why do I want success, financial or otherwise? It's because it makes me feel good inside, or at least I think it will make me feel good inside. And the same way, like we avoid doing bad things because in the action of that is the pain for your soul and also
Yes, absolutely. And we can see that with what's happening to the Israeli soldiers. They are totally damaged. They are completely, those people will never be human again. They will not be functional because they broke all the lines. They passed all the barriers of cruelty. And on top of it now, apparently there is a list on the ICC with photographs. So they can't even travel. They can't go anywhere. And so they damaged themselves already. And that is because also in terms of time, there is an acceleration of time. What you do now, you want to pay now. You're not going to have to live again and come. I think we are at the end of cycle of incarnation for the souls on this planet, because a lot of people are unaware of the fact that we are reaching an end of cycle for redemption.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we are witnessing, for example, in Gaza and some other places, is the end. That is why for us that already have evolved a little bit above an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth and a leg for a leg and I don't know what, we are feeling that so profoundly and so painfully in our souls and in our hearts, because we are already ascending to some degree, right? The planet Earth is a consciousness of such benevolence and such motherly love that it has accepted what is called laggards from other systems and other planetary systems. And so we are reaching that limitation of the Earth. So we are close to 9 billion. And we are souls that come from many different worlds and many different dimensional fields. And everyone is trying to learn now because they know, and we know at some level, that this cannot continue. We cannot continue to go on this cycle. We just have to open the pages of history, and it's aura after aura after aura after aura. But having said that, it is part of the learning. It is part of the realization of how we are one with every single thing around us. We are one with the earth. We are one with the ocean. We are one with each other. We are one with the universe. We are one with the cosmos. We are one with the galaxy. We are one with everything. There is nothing that we are not a part of. But we are not taught like this.
Yes.
We are not taught like this. We are taught us and them, black and white,
Yes.
less white but less black, whatever. Everything in our planet to this point has been taught to humans to separate them. Look at children in a crash. They don't see each other's color at all. You don't. You don't see your color. You don't see. I grew up in rural areas. I was the only white person. Nobody ever told me that I was the only one white person.
Have you seen like a pattern of like the kinds of issues people, like most common issues, whether it's emotional, like an emotional root cause?
I have noticed in my life that it is always by patterns. It's always by, and that is where I definitely became so grateful, because I realized that I am an instrument being used. And at some point, they decide this person with this condition must go through there, that person must find me, I must find that person. So there was a time where it was only sexual trauma. Then it was all kinds of abuse, still very related to sexual trauma, but of all kinds. Somebody would arrive after somebody tried to cut their neck, and really severe things. And I remember saying to the spirit guides and helpers, this is too much for me. It's just trauma after bloody situation. Please send me something else. And then I would have very light, gentle people with just depression, one after the other, after the other. It was like a rest phase, just people very depressed. And he left me and I'm so sad. And she left me and I'm so sad. That kind of situation. And again, I said, okay, I rested a little bit, send me something else. And I started to receive people that were dying of cancer, 4th stage terminal cancer patients, one after the other, after the other. But even those were not sent without some sort of pattern. First there was brain tumors, then there was liver tumors, then there was anemias, blood cancers. And I saw all the time the pattern. And then I thought, wow, it's like amazing. I couldn't help but realize that there is order in this, in the universe, even of who goes to who at what particular time.
Have you noticed any emotional blocks that are common amongst, like, let's say, the people that are suffering from cancer, or the people that have been victims of abuse and trauma, physical violence, people that are depressed? Have you seen any kind of emotional blockages or any kind of common?
There is a pattern, and I call those patterns the language of soul speaking through biology. For example, if you are too head focused and you're thinking at great speeds about this, that, and the next, you find that you start having problems with your head. So I've never found a patient with a cancer in the head that was not functioning along that pattern for quite a while.
Like, you mean overly analytical?
Overly analytical, overly thinking, overly sometimes controlling. And you have to realize that everything that is given to you, every faculty, must be used with care, must be used with deep love and reverence, really, because your body is an instrument that has to carry you for a certain period of time on planet Earth. So you can't abuse this one or that one. Sometimes I see people running. I go walk all the time, every day by the beach, and then I see people, they're running, they are absolutely exhausted. You can see they continue on this running. And then I think to myself, this abuse of their joints and this abuse of their heart and this abuse of their lung capacity will also translate in something that's not going to be good along their lives, because, it's like an abuse of the body.
It's interesting you see it that way, because I would imagine they're exactly trying to strengthen those organs.
No. You have to look at every organ, at every part of life with absolute love and reverence. For example, look at a flower. You wouldn't just cut the flower anywhere. You would go very gently and either with your nails, you clip it, or you take something and, at the right place, right? To give that flower enough life for you to enjoy. Otherwise, you just take like that, it's finished. So there is I don't say that people mustn't run or mustn't jog, but even in that, there must be love and reverence for your body and respect as well.
Going back to these cases of trauma, when you work with your healies that come to you to get over whatever trauma they've suffered, I'm really curious to know, because it sounds like these weren't like mild cases of trauma. It sounds like really severe trauma, even from what you've described, Denise, previously. How do you work with them? Do you just try and heal their heart? And is there any work that you ask them to do?
That is where I sometimes don't know how I do it, because I feel in those moments that there are so many people in the room, not just me and the patient or the patient and myself, but there is so many helpers. I'm going to give you a specific example.
Yes.
I remember I wrote the story in the book, My Sacred Moments of Healing. There was this young man. He had been raped, but severely damaged. They cut him and then they proceeded to rape his body. He had been in a performance. This happened while he went to the toilet during the half an hour break. So he was so in shock, so out of body, because people don't know this. When you go through shock like this, you are not in your body. So you actually do not feel the pain, you don't feel the cutting, you don't feel. This is how God created us as well, is that if we have to experience something so traumatic, your body's floating down.
You dissociate.
Yes, your body's floating somewhere. So he was bleeding terribly, but part of his costume, he was dressed with the tights that were red, blood red. So he put his tights back and he went onto the stage, and then he collapsed, and that's when they realized that wasn't water, it was blood really coming out of him, and he was hospitalized and saved. And when he came for healing, I had talked to him about the case in the book that I wrote in the book, which is another boy. I said to him, I want you to know that you're not your body. When you accept this reality that you are not your body, that who you are is truly the eternal spirit, one more reason for you to love and revere your body, because, you're just using this thing that you have to leave behind, right? When it starts collapsing. And I said to him, I want you to think like that, because if you focus on your body, you're going to be focused on the parts that were cut and you really, where you put your mind, there you are.
Yes.
So literally, so I said, I want you to think of yourself as a floating, untouchable spirit where nobody can cut, nobody can rape, nobody can harm, nobody can do anything to you, because that's what happened. When that happened, you were observing everything from above, most likely. You couldn't feel a thing. Now, I want you to lie here, and I want you to try to think of that spirit that left the body. And as I place my hands above on your body so that those memories melt a little bit, hopefully you will float and fall asleep. And not long, you obviously succeeded. And I hear, and as I hear that, I embraced him. I actually gave him a big hug. He was lying on the bed. And I just went over and I gave him a big hug and I woke him up. And I said to him, you see, you just passed out again. See, proof that who you are is not, the body is not this part of your biology that got that hurt.
Was he struggling to sleep?
He couldn't sleep. He was just obsessing
Yes.
about it. Yeah. So anyway, as I proceeded to keep my hands on his heart, because his heart was still very painful, on his head. And all of a sudden he opens his eyes and he says, I can feel there is other hands touching my feet and other hands touching my knees. I said, yeah, they come from multidimensional beings and they help us. It was so funny. We felt again like this sugar that is made like fluffy. You know, the
Cotton candy?
cotton candy. We felt like clouds were so dense, they felt like cotton candy. And they were pink all around the room. And I could see these things and I thought, well, he can't see that because I assumed it. And he said, I see things like cotton candy, you know, they're just dissolving over my body. I see them and then they dissolve. I said, yeah, it's the angels. They're sending you love and healing. And so things like that can happen during a healing because you must remember what I said right at the outset. If you are an instrument, you never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Right? And I don't have a particular protocol other than speaking first and, you know, before I touch the person. Because I want to be an instrument for whatever is going to happen there. But I do cry a lot. I do hold my patients that are so traumatized a lot.
So with this particular case,
Yeah.
it sounds so horrific because I want to ask the question, like, did he get better? I'm sure he gradually time.
Totally.
But was he able to live a functional life?
Totally. Because I always tell people, if we live forever, and if every human experience is a lesson, so we learn as victims and we learn as perpetrators. And we also have to swallow our ego to the possibility that at some point we might have hurt somebody in the same way, in some primitive life where we didn't have much intellect to even think. Because in the past it used to be like that. People used to just take one and then have sex like that, like almost savages, or the animal instinct was there. So I said to him, just open yourself to that possibility and say, I'll forgive myself and I'll forgive these people.
Wow.
Because if you do not see what is the purpose of pain, there has to be some lesson learned there, right? And I think you read my book, We Are Here to Learn.
Yes.
Did you see what Jesus said to me as I was about to print the book in the lesson of forgiveness? I asked him, I said, I'm giving this book to print and I wrote this lesson. I know that I was helped to write this lesson, but I still don't know the essence of forgiveness. And I feel that I'm going to print a book that doesn't complete it. So I said, you had a life here amongst us on planet Earth, right? And you had such a horrible life where you were betrayed and beaten. And what was all that about?
Yeah.
When you say, forgive. And he answered with such profound words. Oh my God. I memorized his words. He says, you see, beloved, I too had come to learn that which I had to teach.
Yes, I remember that now that you say it. Yeah.
How else could I learn what it is to forgive if I had not allowed all of them to either betray me, and it goes on like that. And that's how the chapter works. Because, when he said these words in my head, I understood, for that moment, I understood so fully what forgiveness is. Because if our soul is here to learn to dance ballet, is one thing. It's very light and very easy. It's very lovely. If our soul is here to acquire goods and bling and wear them, and it's very nice and very pleasant. But if our soul is here to truly expand and learn the hardest, most powerful lessons in the universe, right? Let's look at forgiveness. How can you learn that lesson if nobody ever hurts you?
So like this boy that went through this, I assume he was quite young.
Yes, not as young as the one with the priest in the bar in the story, but he was 22, 23 as well. Yeah.
when you broach the subject of forgiveness with them? Is it like in the first session already, or do you wait a journey that they go through?
No, I have to broach him because you won't believe this, but normally people do not need to see me twice.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I have to use that opportunity to literally download into them while they are in that vulnerable state. Things stay. They stay in the subconscious and they stay in the conscious level. And so I have to immediately take them into that direction because forgiveness is something so powerful, is something so beautiful. But it's not done for somebody else. You're actually doing it for you. It's a jewel of another kind that you are acquiring.
Yes, of course. We forgive to let ourselves, to set ourselves free.
Exactly. But you also forgive to let the way to go because, if you don't forgive, you are carrying the weight of this person's actions. And what I've learned is that nobody on this planet hurts people on purpose. It's their own pain.
Yes.
It's always their own pain that goes out of control. If you tell a very angry person, and I have had to do that to some of them, they arrive there and they're already angry. And not with me, obviously, because it's the first time they're meeting me. But they have brought so much anger. And the moment I say to them, do you know that anger is frozen pain that is inside for so long that it's becoming worse and worse to carry and it's showing in your face? It starts showing in their face. The ladies, they get the lips all cracked and they get the here all cracked, and the men, they got the eyes, they get the little eyes in the little mouth. There's a face for anger. But when you tell them that for the first time, their features actually relax because they hate themselves for feeling the anger without knowing that the anger is due to the frozen pain that is there unacknowledged for so long in the first place. So then I say to these people, let's go back to maybe when you were a child. What happened there? Some say to me, I had a beautiful childhood. My mother, my dad was very beautiful. I said, okay. And everybody else in your surroundings? Because a lot of damage happens with neighbors, with people, So eventually, they open up to something that is there. Some, it is so deep. The ice is so solid that it doesn't thaw. But when it starts thawing, they cry. And I know maybe this is not appropriate for the show, but I tell them anyway. One tear is 1 ton of shit that you have to let go. Let go. And I really, in those moments, it becomes like a one-on-one love story. I really, really say, please cry more. Until they laugh and cry and they laugh and cry. And I hold them from the back, if they're sitting. Now they cry more, because you're dissolving all that frozen pain.
And do you find that once people cry, that it's easier to let go of anger?
Yes, because you see, everything is about bringing from the subconscious, from the non-aware part of us, to the consciousness, to being conscious of what it is. Once you know the reason, you can be master of yourself again. Right?
Yeah, Lou, it's so difficult. I feel like I think sometimes we hold on to anger on purpose because we have this idea that if we forgive someone or if we let it go, that we're letting them off the hook. But actually we're keeping ourselves on the hook.
Yeah, that's right.
So sometimes that's the case. But there are times that I found in my own, it's not terrible, but in my own life that I sometimes can't get over the anger, or I might forget it while I'm happy. For years and years, I was really angry with my uncle who cheated my father. So every time I thought about that, and then the years of pain my father was put through and my mother and our whole family, I'd get really angry. I've since been able to let it go, but I feel like that's a lot of self-talk and a lot of stuff on my own spiritual journey. But I know that there are a lot of people that struggle with that, and myself as well in other situations. Yeah.
Well, there is a few mantras. I am a great believer in the power of mantras because mantras allow you to program your head, right? And I always teach people that your head functions like a computer. Inputs in, outputs out, same level. So if all the thoughts you are having as an output is from that experience, then you have to cancel that experience. And you have not to cancel it, but to literally dissolve it in some way, right? Uncreate it. Because either you believe that we are creators of our reality or we are not. So people, if they create a beautiful garden and they're going to show to everyone, look at how beautiful I created, all puffed up. You take ownership of your good creations very easy, but you don't take ownership of the bad ones.
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe that we are creators of our reality. And we're not creators of our reality just on this dimension. We are multidimensional beings. So many things are happening simultaneously. So mantras is what you repeat all the time. And I say to them, the most powerful is, you have no power. You have no power. Here comes this thought, you have no power. And you keep going and going and going.
So you're saying to the thought that the thought has no
power. Exactly.
Yeah.
So until this thought just gives up, literally gives up. Do you understand? And then it goes back to nothingness because everything's coming out of nothingness anyway. So sometimes it's good to send it back to nothingness.
It's an energy that's.
Yes.
I'm so curious. Can you see, like, if you meet somebody, apart from their facial expressions, can you see it in their aura?
Yes.
Can you see auras?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what does it look like?
Many years ago, I used to see people around. I used to see the auras. I used to hear voices. I asked my guides and my helpers on the other side. I said, please limit a little bit to those side effects. I call them side effects because I want to be focused on the person, not on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and what I'm. Do you understand?
Yes.
So I said to them, I give you permission to cut all these links with all those side effects because I want to be focused on the person, on how do I bring this person from this illusion of separation to being connected again, because I see these people as almost being off the grid, so I have to bring them back into oneness with life.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah. So I don't want to, only if what I need to see, it's going to be really pertinent to this person's healing.
Right.
I'm going to give you a superb example that happened to me not too long ago. I had this black gentleman. He was a great professor at the University of Pretoria, and he was referred to me by some other professor or whatever. And here he comes, and he's like very depressed and very sad. And I said, how can I help you? And he says, you see these pimples in my skin? And he showed me his skin, and it really looks terrible, like balls of water all the time coming out of his arms. And I said, have you seen the doctor? I've seen everybody. I've seen specialists. I've seen these balls that never go away. Anyway, so I said, I can't. Usually I can grasp what it is that the biology is trying to say. For example, liver cancer will be anger. Pancreas is also anger, even more anger. The head is overthinking, whatever. There's always a reason, but with the arms, strangely enough, I just couldn't see anything, couldn't get any idea. I said, look, let us lie you down and then see what I receive as guidance for you, because I really need guidance this time. And as I lie the man down, I touch his head, he falls asleep. And the next thing I hear, which is the soundtrack of my healing song, my healing session. And the next thing I said to all the friends of this man, I said, all the ancestors that are listening here, please help me to help him, because I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what to say for him to recover. And I see the ancestors, like hundreds of them, in a circle shape on top and then on the bottom. So 2 circles like this, and they're all looking down at us. And one of them shows me a gun.
Right.
And as it shows me a gun, the whole image disappears and he wakes up. He wakes up, and then I said to him, we didn't talk a lot, but we have to talk about your gun. And he was like in shock. He said, how do you know about my gun? I said, the ancestors showed me that you've got a gun.
Right.
They didn't tell me anything else.
Yeah.
You want to tell me about your gun? And he started to cry. He really broke down. He was so moved. Of course, being a Black person, he believes in his ancestors, but he was also a Christian. So he said to me, the last few months had been months of anxiety because his wife had betrayed him with his best friend. So it was a double betrayal, and he was considering shooting him.
Shooting himself or shooting the guy?
No, shooting the guy who took his wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Then he realized as a Christian, he couldn't kill another person.
Yeah.
And he was in this, inner turmoil, yeah. And then, of course, this resolved the problem for him. And the next day, he phones me to say those balls had disappeared as well.
That's insane. That's crazy.
Yeah, because you see, your body is so intelligently made that everything is energy in the universe, right? So it can be moved and manipulated. And so the body was just telling him, no, you're not going to do this,
So he had to truly let go. So even he had the idea that he's not going to kill his betrayer.
Yeah.
He probably hadn't really let go.
Yeah.
There was a Buddhism that still really wanted to do it.
And I did say to him, do you believe that we live forever as souls? Oh, yes, I do. Okay. So is it possible that in some timeline, in some other life, you could have done the same to a friend? It is possible.
Yeah, so he was like, oh, I guess if I did it, then it's fine.
It's possible. So that is why it is so important for us to accept and swallow our ego that whatever happens to us, maybe somewhere along the line, sometimes it's not the case of just black and white karma happening. Some souls go through deep experiences of pain because their challenge is, as they come here, is I'm going to go down to the depths of the darkest darkness and see if I can come back again to the light.
The professor with the boils on his hand.
On his arms.
On his arms. He had to forgive, or I guess he had to forgive his ex-best friend.
And his wife as well.
In order to heal.
Yeah.
There are some people that are just unable to let go of their anger. Maybe it's self-righteousness. Is it? In those cases, have you seen people heal despite their anger? Is it possible?
No. Because anger is the frozen pain. And for as long as it remains unacknowledged, it's like the cause of your disease, whatever disease it is, mental, emotional, spiritual. So for as long as it's not acknowledged as the pain, and for as long as you don't come out with that pain without that experience that created it in the first place, experience-s experiences sometimes, then, you're back to square one. It's like not moving.
That makes so much sense. So now on to just practically, what does it mean to forgive someone?
To forgive someone, it means to understand, one, it was not made on purpose. Nothing is made on purpose. It looks like it's made on purpose, but it's not. Nobody hurts anybody by making a plan, writing it down, creating it, printing it, and then it doesn't work like that. It's part of the script of the two souls involved, one way or the other. And because we are here, most of us, without a memory of what it is that we may have done in other lifetimes, we live with this comfortable ego. We are better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, because we don't see our lives, right? We don't see how many people we have killed 2,000 years ago. We don't see how many we have strangled. We don't see anything, right? So we judge ourselves like blind people because we only see now. But we are eternal beings. And if we have lived of all eternity, we've got time to play all the roles. This is all role playing. This is what the Hindus teach as Leela, the cosmic play, the play of God. At one time when we become aware of that's how it works in this universe, because, we will buy a phone and we're going to read and learn how it works, right? But we don't learn and read how life works. Our soul takes embodiment in this life, right? So most people on planet Earth are totally ignorant even of the fact that they are a soul.
Some would say the instruction manual is the scriptures.
Not enough. No. But I also want you to know this. When you practice and you are what I call a true, reverent, adoring soul of wanting to know the truth, you have to adore the truth. You have to revere the truth. You have to love the truth beyond love. It has to become a thing of adoration and reverence. When you reach that point, somehow the universe communicates with you because now you have reached a higher level of search, right? And so they actually show you answers. I have been shown some things that are very intimate. I will not share here, obviously. Maybe when I'm a little bit older, then maybe I can just write them down or something. But I have been shown things that are so profound about my own evolution. I've seen myself in a life in China during the army of Genghis Khan. And I was a soldier. I was a fighter. I don't see myself killing anyone, but I learned right there and then, thank you, because it opens to the possibility that I may have killed quite a few people, if you are in the army of Genghis Khan, right? But they show me, because I've always had a thing with horses. I touch horses and I start to cry.
Wow.
And then I was shown why. When I was a soldier in this army, I had this magnificent Arabic white horse, the purest, magnificent. It was my pride and my reason for being. And of course, I get caught by some enemies, and they actually kill the horse before they kill me. So I'm shown those visions so that I can understand my own, my own evolution. So I was a soldier there. I have seen myself in other. I was some sort of healer also in India many times. I was also in Europe in the Middle Ages already. I was one of the people that was burnt at the stake, and I was shown so that I could see what happens during something like that. I was out of body in no time, and I was looking at the scene from above, and some of the people that had protected me, they were going to burn as well, and I'm screaming, and then I realized I don't have a voice in this dimension. They can't hear me. Because I was screaming and said to them, click off and come here, switch off.
Much better here. Oh, yeah.
So when you become a truth seeker, and I mean, I cannot think of myself in terms of the great rishis of India or any saint in Afghanistan mountains and all those Sufi extraordinary evolved souls of those lands, which again border, it's always bordering the India and the Himalaya, if you notice. Yeah.
There's this idea that there are no past lives, but that because there is no past, present, and future.
Yes, but that is not in this dimension. And this dimension, we experience a three-dimensional timeline. We experience the past, the present, the future. That's why we are born, we live, and then we die. But in the ultimate reality, there is not indeed time.
But even with I don't know if you've heard of the multiverse theory from physics, but that there's multiple universes.
Yeah.
And so there is a theory that perhaps they're not past lives, but perhaps they're parallel lives.
Yes, it is.
Parallel dimensions.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
But for most of us here on planet Earth, we are bound by our senses. So our senses inform us, yes, there is the past, there is the present, and then there will be the future. But in the ultimate reality, there is parallel existence, parallel dimensions, and parallel creations. And it makes perfect sense because, if we live forever, you don't want to come back to the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
You would want, for one, I already asked, for example, I was told in dreams as a response to my query, where do I come from? Because I feel alienated a little bit from this planet. I think that I felt since I was a little child. I remember in Paradise Islands in Mozambique where I grew up, I remember having my little island like all the other children were playing in these little islands, which were little pieces of land sticking out in the ocean. And I remember crying, please send a ship for me. This is left me in the wrong place. And I remember this very clearly because it was something that had not died within my higher consciousness, that I was not in my planet. And when I finally turned 65, about 6 years ago or so, 5 years ago, or whatever, I had the dream when I was told that I was indeed from the Pleiades. So if I am indeed from the Pleiades, a part of me is still there. Part of me is here. Part of me is probably in the spirit world. So we are all multidimensional beings, but we don't get that awareness until we are searching or somewhere a little bit further already along our search of who we truly are. Because if we are pure energy, as quantum physics is teaching us, then we're not bound anywhere. You can't bound energy anywhere, unless you put a pipe on it or a tube on it or whatever, or a transformer, transducer, whatever. And so our bodies work as those capturing things to have a part of us here. But that's not who you are. You're not your body only.
The soul is free.
Free.
And actually there's in Islam at least we believe that when we sleep and dream, our souls are traveling.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that is why when you've got lucid dreams and you are given answers to your deepest sought after questions like, where do I come from? When I learned I come from the Pleiades, I was so happy, at least I know. Okay, I belong in the Seven Sisters. Yeah.
And then you try to look for other people from the Pleiades.
There's plenty on the internet.
Oh, there are? Okay. Oh, did you make new friends?
No, not really, but I've met people here too that
are okay.
They feel that.
You feel a special connection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Lou, just going, this thing about forgiveness has really, I want to know more about it just because I think that I've been through my own stuff. When I actually first asked you to do the interview and I was thinking about the topic, and forgiveness did come up for me because I was struggling with my own journey on forgiving people, forgiving myself. I think I've come a long way between us scheduling the interview and now. I've come a long, long way.
It shows on your face. Yeah.
So this is what I was struggling with. And I know that a lot of people struggle with is that when you're, let's say now, just practically, I asked you, what does it mean to forgive someone? So now, let's say somebody has wronged me and I've forgiven them. Yet every time I meet this person, I feel something. I feel something in my heart. I feel like I don't want to talk to this person anymore. Does that mean you've forgiven them?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Through forgiveness, you become indifferent. It doesn't affect you as much. But when you express the desire to forgive somebody and you are able to still talk with them, it's already a progress. But the point comes where it's just like it's gone back to nothingness. It makes no difference.
But you'll never trust the person again.
Well, if it depends, if it was something to trust, if it was an issue of serious trust, yes, you must also learn the lesson.
I want to ask you about self-forgiveness. How do we forgive ourselves? And what does it mean to forgive ourselves?
Well, forgiving yourself is understanding, and that goes for guilt as well, is understanding that you couldn't have done better then with what you know now. So it is very important to just say to yourself, I didn't know better. I didn't know how to control my impulses. I didn't know how to control my jealousy, whatever it was that made you hurt somebody. So I very often have, in those moments that I need to forgive myself, I say, I invoke the law of forgiveness for my ignorance on the issue. It is not an easy subject, and I'm not like the master of forgiveness by very far. You understand? So we just invoke that law of forgiveness, and I always say, I invoke the law of forgiveness for myself, for all that I may have hurt, and for all that will hurt me, and even into the future. Otherwise, there is no peace. You can have no peace.
Does it mean like you just forget about it, accept it, and move on?
Well, you voice it. You say, I invoke the law of forgiveness because I need to let go of this.
Yeah. Yeah, because I find that your thoughts can be involuntary.
Yeah.
Right? They just come.
And what's the mantra?
You have no power.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
But pass the test. I want to talk to you about something. You've authored so many books. And in all of them, you said they were written through you and not by you.
Just like my healing, exactly.
Oh, how did this happen? So can you give us an example of what happened even in your first book? How did it start?
My first book is the very beginning. I tell this to people, I'm now on the 6th, and I never, ever in my entire life thought I would write any book. First, because I speak a few languages, as you know, and I always thought that my English was far below par to write anything coherent. So that's how I thought. And then 25 years ago, 26 years ago, I was meditating and I hear these voices in my head, and it is so beautiful, but I mean, so beautiful. And I just start writing it down, and I wrote it and I wrote it and I wrote it, and then I typed it.
It was in English.
Yes. And I typed it. I loved it so much, I actually made a whole pile of copies of it. There was not much, like 4 pages or something. Then I had a patient, Carol, God bless her. She came. She said, oh, this is so beautiful. You must write a book. I said, I can't write a book with 3 pages or 4 pages or whatever the case was. She said, but where does this come from? Lulu, where does this come from? I said, I don't know. I heard these voices and it filled my heart and I got so emotional. I started writing. She said, well, go into that space and ask them to send you more. That's how it started.
Wow. And you wrote in English. That's quite interesting.
Yes. And also what is very interesting is that afterwards I started getting dreams about my books. And in the dreams, I would get the title. Then I would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and write. Before I forget, I used to go to bed with a book all by my side and I write everything that I remember from the dream. And then I would think about it. And I remember when I had to write, we are here to learn. Oh my God, I had an attack of giggles. I said, you must be joking with me telling anyone about the lessons. And I laughed and I laughed. all by myself like a mental case, And then slowly, I was receiving information more and more and more. I would open, synchronistically, I would open a book and I would see a beautiful piece and I would save it for the book. And the moment I went to write the book, in 3 days, the book was written.
Wow.
So I knew it can't be me.
Yeah.
It can't be me,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember for We Are Here to Learn, I sat one day for 18 hours writing. And at the end of the day, I could hardly get out of the chair. I was so, even though I was only in my, 40 something, I remember hearing the voice to pick up a book of this little hotel where I was, not hotel, the cottage. And I picked up the book and it was comedy book. And I laughed for another hour or so before I went to bed. But I was in such a heightened state. I was seeing people from the other side.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And what was that like? I wonder what it was like for your daughter, Karina, to experience you like that.
Ask her, she's going to say to you, it was not easy.
Really?
Because, and I feel sorry for her in many ways because if I have to be fair, I was an absent mother. I was out of body most of my life. And when it was difficult to cope, I was out of body. So I was a hands-on mom, but I wasn't there. Does it make sense?
Yes.
When you are out of body, you're not there.
I guess Karina chose you for a reason.
Yes, she did. And I said to her, also she had to understand that I came from a background of severe trauma with my own mother. And that's how I coped.
Do you think that anyone can be a channel?
Yes.
Could you tell us how?
I think that is not for us to decide, actually.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I never asked to be a channel. I think that when you have a pure heart, because remember, the universe is not registering how pretty you are, how good you are doing or whatever, but is registering our intention. And if there is souls of higher dimensional level up there that help us and guide us and channel through us, they are actually looking at those intentions, right? So my intention for as long as I remember to be alive was to help people. And I remember in my prayer, my first prayer that I ever wrote was, "Dear God, make me an instrument of your love and your healing for all those that I encounter." And it was a very simple way, because if I see somebody in distress, I would comfort them. If I see somebody cry, I would hold them. If I would see somebody sick, I'd put my hands on them. If I see somebody in pain, I remember, you're going to love this one. I was traveling with Air France a couple of years back, and I saw this young black man with the tresses,
The dreadlocks?
the dreadlocks. Beautiful young man. And he was walking with the thing, and I saw the pain patch there.
Right.
And I thought, wow, he must be in real pain to have the
Pain patch.
pain patch there. Anyway, yeah, we enter in the plane and we all get our seats, and he's just 2 lots behind me. I am on this side and he's on the middle of the plane. And come midnight or something like that, he is in such pain. He is trying to sleep and he's, oh. And everyone in the plane is looking.
Yeah.
So I called the lady,
The air hostess.
air hostess, and I said, if you want this to stop, because everyone is complaining, they want to sleep, please ask him permission, say to him I could give him healing and put him to sleep for real. And she looks at me.
Oh, wide-eyed. Yeah.
She said, can you do that? I said, I hope so,
Yeah.
Then she said, okay, let's do that. I'm going to ask him. So he said, yes, please, I'm sorry. So I think his morphine patch that's finally gone. I don't know. He probably left the morphine patch somewhere else, the recharges, So I said to him, okay, lie down, because it was a place for him to lie down on, where there's the 4 seats. I touched his head, and before long he was. And afterwards, this woman wouldn't leave me alone. And I said, no, please, I also want to sleep. She said, no, but tell us more. And I said, no, I can't explain. I said to her, I can't explain. It's just a gift. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Lou, this has been so fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your insights, your view on politics and the world.
I feel very sad for what's happening, just like everybody else, but I'm able to withdraw, but I still feel very deeply, great sadness for Palestine, and especially I know the history well. I feel the same for any unjust.
And you've seen so much in your career as well, right? As a healer.
Yeah. But we pray. All we can do is to pray. And
I'm curious, Lou, how do you carry all the pain? What do you do with it?
Well, I ask the universe to cleanse me. I just say, cleanse and purify. Sometimes I have pain in my heart, real pain. Yeah. And I remember when I had that phase of severe physical trauma, I used to have pain in the parts of the biology that I use
to heal.
To heal, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that is also part of the gift, If I see somebody with pain, they don't even have to tell me where the pain is. I pick it up in my own biology on the exact spot.
Yeah. So you're actually very open as an energy channel. That you're actually very open because you can take on the energy of the people you're healing, as well as the energy of the divine that flows through.
Yeah. They say it's the price of the gift.
Yes, it's the flip side of the same.
Yes, it's the price of the gift, because for you to be able to help somebody, you have to feel a little bit of what they feel.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But also to be open to other energy. I guess you're also then open to the energy of people you come into contact.
Even though, I've asked over the years, I've asked them to preserve me more, because my heart would go into sync with any heart that was sick. And that was not good for my heart.
Right.
If somebody had, I don't know,
atrial fibrillation.
Yes, I would feel exactly the same in my heart. My heart would go in resonance. So I end up establishing that resonance with the person. And I understand that is obviously part of the gift. It's to be able to be in resonance, in total resonance with the person, because then I think temporarily, for fractions of a second, maybe I carry their load a little bit, giving them the memory of what it's like not to have the pain.
It's amazing.
But I have been instructed to adjust over the years. For example, now I am not allowed to put anyone to sleep anymore, so people cannot lie down. I can't lie down anymore.
Yes, why is that?
Because they told me that by allowing the people to go unconscious, I also become unconscious, and they don't want me to become unconscious.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Lou, thank you for the work that you're doing. This has been so insightful. I'm sure a lot of people want to know. I want to hear from someone like yourself, because I think that there's a lot of people that have heard of people like you, but have never experienced or spoken to.
And yet we are so many. I believe that there is more than 15% of the world's population that is able to channel the energy to another person.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a lot of people that don't know they have the gift?
I think so, but also I think that a lot have the gift, but they have not any desire to go and use it.
Why would they be given the gift without the desire?
Because, when you arrive in this dimension, you forget even why you are here.
Right.
That's what it is.
You're saying they haven't found themselves yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Fascinating. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening today. I hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Subscribing helps a new podcast like ours immensely. And until next time, don't be a sheep, keep questioning, stay curious, and never stop exploring the extraordinary.